Welcome, everybody, to, I guess we're in September, believe it or not, the Town of Philipstown Conservation Board meeting for September. So we'll call this to order. So the first thing I would like to do, and it should be quick, is I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes. I was not chairing that meeting, so I wasn't here. So are there enough people that have read the minutes that we could have a motion?
I was not here either.
I was here, but if MJ's not here, can we still?
Yes, you can. It's if we have we need 1, 2, 3.
Do we have enough?
Was a quorum 3 or 4? Okay, so we're passing it till next month. It's as easy as that, and it's short. Okay, so let's move on to 47 Mill Road. Am I saying it right? John Halebian?
Halebian.
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 Halebian. Okay, is that Armenian?
Yes,
Okay,
100% on both sides.
good for you. Okay. Hi, we have revised plans. Could you go through them? And I think we have a bunch of questions, but
I did send in some revised plans. Actually, I don't think I sent in revised plans. I sent in a letter that said.
no, I take it back. I'm thinking of
Is
Cliffside.
in the floodplain.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Although in 30 years it has never flooded in that area or the road, according to the man who's lived there for 30 years. But either way, it's a non-habitable space and you can get a building permit for it. It's not an issue with the building department. I did calculations and we can capture the roof runoff and just, infiltrate it for 90th percentile storm event with just 2 small storm tech units, and which are, these type of units. And then we can use some sort of grid material like this for the stone. And she talked about the gravel driveway to make it like less pervious. So we put like 12 inches of stone below it. You use this grid, you put the stone in, but I don't want to put that within 10 feet of the foundation of the garage. So we would do that in just the first 10 feet of the driveway. And then the rest of it would just be a regular gravel driveway.
Why not within 10 feet from my own
Because
knowledge?
you're trying to infiltrate water very close to a foundation
Okay.
wall, and that's not a good idea.
I don't see any issue.
No,
I mean, my biggest thing was just the whole rationale, and I was talking to Andy about this today, about the floodplain designation, was just for your benefit, so that it's
Right.
designed properly.
Yeah,
If there was a storm that would breach the road there.
Exactly.
And then working with the building department to
Yep.
accommodate that.
And you realize that essentially it's not insurable on your homeowner's policy.
It's attached, I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a fire, I believe your homeowners would pay for a fire. But if you have a flood,
You would have to have
you could
flood
get FEMA
insurance.
insurance, but FEMA insurance is for second stories and above.
But I've been here for 30 years, I've never
So.
seen water collect on our side of the road. And I think partly because the other side of the road where the creek and the wetlands is much lower, and all the water just goes down the hill and goes up.
And
I've
it-
never seen water collect
Right.
ever.
And it only became in the 100-year floodplain when they changed the flood name designations in 2012, when they expanded
The
them.
Loma thing.
You could do a Loma, except they've done a study, I think they've done a study, because there is an elevation there. So the only way you could get it out would be to do a hex raz. It would be very complicated. It's not worth it.
I mean, if a tree fell on it, it would be.
Yes.
For water damage.
It's
Right.
water damage is where,
I had trees fall on the house.
well, your house is out of the floodplain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your house is definitely, and it's, in my mind, when I first saw the plans, I'm going, is this the best place to put it? Because you are within the buffer, but you look at the terrain.
not really.
It's the only place. I think everybody was there, right?
Yeah,
So-
I was on vacation.
You were on vacation.
God bless you.
I trust,
So-
I trust whatever you say. I defer to Mr. Gatto.
So with that, I mean, I think at this point, we can pretty much issue, we don't even have to issue a conditional, I think we can issue a permit. I mean, I think everything is pretty much in order. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
All right, so could I have a motion to issue a permit?
I can make it.
And a second,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very
So,
much.
Okay. And so we'll transmit that information to the ZBA too,
yeah,
when they meet,
yeah,
if you don't have the permit in hand by then, but you probably will.
Okay, thank you.
yeah. I mean, I had spoken to the attorney for the ZBA, and he felt it was better to just put off their meeting until this was done.
Okay,
But I got the feeling that it's going to be approved,
thank you.
so,
I think I was an attorney, I realize everyone wants to cross the Ts and dot the Is and do it exactly the right way, so I understand that, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
yeah. But the variance, you know, it's, the attorney feels it's fair use, so,
Okay,
so there we go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
are we doing Szypula or no Szypula?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay.
So you're here for something else?
I am.
Okay, well, I'll go.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I was talking about the new plans for. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So here is the reduced footprint for the Szypula Pond, which had very long discussions with the landscape company that designs and builds these, you know, man-made ponds that look like natural ponds. The one that is at, there's one at, oh, I can't, okay, I can't remember the name of it.
We want number 2 here.
Which one we looking at?
So this was one that was built in Garrison. It's been there for years now.
Where is it, did you say?
It's off of Cat Rock Road.
Okay.
So,
Same company?
excuse me?
Same company did it?
Same company, and I don't know why, oh, Boscobel. There's one built at Boscobel that they also did. I don't have pictures of that one. But this, you know, basically was, there was a cliffside here, and there was just a lawn, and they dug it out, and they made a pond, and the pond recirculates the water up to the top of this and makes the water fall down. So those are the before and after pictures. So basically, that's what happens. So up here will be, this is gravel and stone that's gonna have plantings in it. It's constantly wet. There are these like crate kind of things that go underneath the stone, and the water comes to the bottom of the crates and pushes the water up through the crates, through the stone, and there is, they introduce not a bacteria, not an algae, I guess it's a, I don't know why I'm blanking out here, to make it anaerobic. So it cleans the water, it's self-cleaning. So there is no need for treatment, there's no need for UV lights, it keeps the water clean. We've regraded it so that all water will shed away from the pond. The pond is self-circulating and keeps itself clean. There is a weir here that is over 8 inches, so even if there were an 8-inch rainstorm, this would never overflow in a drastic manner. It would overflow at like 50 gallons a minute. You know, it's very small. And then it would just dissipate along these stones, which are at the bottom. There's there are concrete walls that are built here, but you won't see them because they place rock on the walls, next to the walls. You know, they used a rebar and tie everything together. So, yeah.
Where's the water source for this?
Where's
Where's the water source? There's no natural stream?
No, there's no natural
So
stream.
you have a feeder pool?
Yes,
up
so
at
it
the
just
top.
circulates itself. So they have to bring in the water. Initially, they bring in the water. There's a membrane at the bottom to keep it, so water doesn't go through the pond. There's a nice thick rubber membrane at the bottom.
Because the one on 403, right? You're talking about the one on 403, the waterfall?
Well, I'm now talking about the one
I
at
know, but
Szypula.
the one you were
Yes,
mentioning.
yes.
it's Similar?
It's
Is off-
similar.
That's a natural water, that's a natural flow there. It
No,
comes out of the springs from up on the hill.
no, it
I mean,
doesn't.
the one on 403 does.
It doesn't.
There are springs that run out above there where the old ice house was.
But they circulate the water from the pond up.
They
they're-
recirculate that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I have a question. What is the depth of the pond? The
We are
deepest
saying
section?
that the pond is not going to be deeper than 4 feet.
Not deep. So where I'm uncomfortable is too strong a word. But I want to make sure that what we're building or proposing to build is a water feature and not a swimming pool.
Right, not a swimming pool.
Because we are in class 2 steep slopes.
Right, it's not a swimming pool. Right, it's not a swimming pool, it's not treated, it's not treated. It's
Well, a swimming pool doesn't, you have natural swimming pools that are that way. What I do think needs to be added to the existing site condition, they built a road in to the property.
They have a permit for that, they had a
But that
driveway
should-
permit.
That needs to be put in because that is encroaching on slopes as well. And I just don't want to get into a position where we're sort of putting a bad precedent in place. So,
They have a building permit for that.
okay,
So-
but it should be on the existing conditions. It's there.
Oh, I didn't
It's
put it
there.
on, I thought I put it on the
I
existing
didn't notice it.
conditions. I'll
And
look.
then I wanted you spent the time to develop calculations for 3 different types of storm events. Could you explain those to us?
Sure. So New York State DEC wants you to look at the 1, 10, and 100-year storm events. So those are the ones that I gave you calculations for. What I showed is this pond, which is the blue surface area from the blue surface area on the drawing. This is another drawing. And then this area that's contributing is also the pond area plus the stone area and the sluice, little rainfall that, waterfall that comes down. And then I showed that this is the 1-year storm event, sorry. That there is no discharge in the 1-year storm event. Oh, no, it's 0.03 cubic feet per second, so it's minimal. And then in the 10-year storm event, you go up to 0.06 cubic feet per second. And the 100-year storm event would discharge at 0.11 cubic feet per second, which equates to about 50 gallons a minute.
What's the total volume of the pond?
Took the words out of my mouth.
I did not calculate that, but I can probably do it pretty quick.
Because what we were also talking about, not only the runoff, but like draining it down.
Yeah,
so-
that was my next
Yeah.
question is what, I didn't notice it on the plan, but it doesn't mean I'm necessarily interpreting it correctly. What feature is there to drain the pond?
Well, we could use a pump to drain the pond. There's 3 pumps in the pond. One is at the lowest elevation. You'd have to pump it over into the riprap below. And you'd have to do it at a reasonable rate so that you wouldn't cause any runoff. You know, you would do it at a reasonable rate, and it would take 24 hours or 48 hours to drain it. Now, as far as I know, they do come in yearly and do a maintenance of it, but I don't know if I don't believe that they have to take the water out of the pond.
No, the reason we were, and we had asked the last meeting or the site visit, a structure like this would need a way to be dewatered if the integrity of the structure is lost, possibly contamination, potentially if we know of a severe rain event where you'd want to drop it. Because the steep slope does flow down to a wetland that seems to, from a cursory look, seems to be thriving and in good condition.
And you might want to take it down in the fall and the winter when they're not going to be there, and, you know, why be
Yeah.
running it the whole time winter?
Yeah.
Going to just freeze over anyway, and the pump might break.
So it's about 3,000 cubic feet, which is about 22,000 gallons.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of comments, I don't want to get too far ahead, but there's some discrepancies in regards to the limited disturbance square footage calculations in between the cross-sectional area is like 2,000 square feet less than the total limit of disturbance that's listed on the plan. And then on one of the plan sets, it says that you're gonna be required to follow the stormwater permit, but it's clearly under an acre
Right.
of disturbed area. You know, this is particularly important because we're near the MS4 boundary for Continental Village. But you're way under the
Yep.
acre threshold. I don't know, I think the bigger discussion that we've been having is, I mean, I'd like Ron to give us feedback on the engineering calculations, but like, is this permittable, you know, I mean, the CB at this time is tasked with giving a memo to the planning board with their opinion. So is this something we'd recommend? Like, what's the net impact? I think we had a conversation on the site regarding the outflow and discharge of a water feature like this, and that potentially could be, from an erosive standpoint, the most impactful issue in terms of the way the code is written for permitting activities on these types of slopes that aren't particularly called out in the code. So I think it's looking at this through that lens at this time that the board should evaluate it in that capacity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would have loved to have gotten something from Ron, both from the code standpoint as well as looking at the you know, as a double-checked peer review of what you've put together.
Yeah.
Because this is, I mean, the code is clear. While the planning board can give waivers on Class 2 slopes,
Yes.
should they, with something like this that is not an essential structure? That's not our say.
Right.
But, you know, I think it's our feeling on this board that if we're going to say to the planning board, it should be all right, we want to make sure that it's not going to have any harm to not only the area where that's being undertaken, but moreover what's downhill.
I have a quick question, just an alternative for the homeowners to think about. You know, so instead of building it into this area here where, you know, we have the steep slopes concern, if it was pulled back maybe, and, I mean, the property, they have a lot of property over there on that one side, that there might be a place where they could more or less make a manual, like, you know, bring in some rock, make a boulder, make a higher point so that it can flow in. And it's not then being built into the steep slopes, but they still get the kind of water feature that they're looking for. You know, and they could actually have it maybe even like in a better viewing area where they actually can look at it from the hot tub or from the back patio that they had there. I think they have that little porch area where, you know, you wouldn't even see it from the porch area where they were. So I'm just thinking from an aesthetic standpoint, that might, you know, accomplish two different goals. Like they can actually utilize it and see the beauty of it better, and then maybe not have to build it in the steep slopes. But it's just an alternative. If there's another location, maybe something to build like that.
Well, we did look at 2 other locations,
You
and
did.
they all require more
More work.
disturbance, more digging, more building between the structures. I mean, right where it's placed, it is, you're cutting in this way and just holding it up this way. And then, since we moved it so far back, we're not near the very steep slopes. Remember, we had the third pond was way down here. So we've moved way back up the hill. And then I've put this velocity dissipator down here so that even if the water comes off, it gets channeled and dissipated through the rubble rock, and it's at the most 50 gallons a minute or 0.11 cubic feet per second, and scouring velocity isn't until you get to 2 cubic feet per second. So we're like,
Did you
20?
show on the plan where when we viewed the spot where the third pond was gonna go down to?
it was down here, but I think I have the old plan, I can show you that.
I'm more interested, I mean, going on what you're saying, Rob, is they had done tree clearing previously.
I don't
Where
know
do you
if they did the tree clearing, because there was a
Whoever,
different
I'm not-
person.
We're not
Yeah.
being punitive here.
Yeah.
So where, if you can go back to the plan, do you have an idea where this pond is versus where the tree clearing was done on the rock ledge? I'm sort of hoping that the pond is totally within the area where the tree clearing
Oh, it
was
is.
previously done.
It is. I'm gonna show you the old sheet. Sorry, wrong one. So I know it looks a lot bigger, but it's really the same size. And this was the third pond, was way down here.
And where was the second pond?
This is the second pond.
And the
This is the first pond.
The first one is now the, we'll call it an artificial rain garden, lack of a better term for
Yes, an artificial rain garden.
it, right? Okay,
It's the sedimentation area is what the
Right.
landscape architect called it. And this was, we were going over the rocks again to have a third pond here. Most of the stubs that we saw that were out there that were either half dead trees or there were some stubs is all within this area. If you remember, there was, let me see. Here, there was this benchmark, when we walked down the hill, remember we all saw that benchmark?
right.
And that was, like, the tree line starts much farther down.
May I ask to clarify something? When we visited the site, did we walk down all the way down to where the third pond is, and you have?
You did,
So we have since scrapped that
yes,
Yeah.
and moved it up? Okay.
yeah. So we had staked the four corners, basically, of the ponds, And this one was, that was in the tree line. That was when you walked down and you went into the tree line. That was the lowest one. And we removed that one.
Oh, okay, because with you, Andy, I felt that a lot of trees would have to be cleared to get it all the way down there. There were, because if you think about the equipment that has to come in to create this thing, that even on the side, more trees would have to come down, and you know, a lot of protecting and stabilizing the area while you build, and while this equipment is standing there, or where are you going to stage the equipment while all this is happening? It seems that it's a big
no,
endeavor
that's-
for a small space.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, ideally, but easier said than done, it would be nice for the equipment to be on the, we'll call it the house side, the top
Well,
side.
actually, the equipment can come in. This is the road, which I guess got shut off on the new plan. This road comes right into here, and there's no trees between here and here.
Right.
So it's very easy to access this point.
Except for the carport.
That's where the carport is. The
Yeah.
carport's right here.
Comments, questions?
So will there be any other structures, you know, so like from a, again, I'm thinking about it from a viewing standpoint, because you're building a water feature and you want to be able to view it. So most of the feature is below the level of where, if you're sitting in the hot tub or you're sitting in the back patio here, you're going to actually not be able to see it.
So they have Adirondack chairs and a little fire pit that is here at the end of this driveway. So you
At
would
the
be
end
able
of
to,
the new driveway, the one that was over further?
yeah, this, see here? That's the little carport and the little driveway, and then right here, they do have some Adirondack chairs.
So that's,
I
okay,
believe.
so that's what they're, so they're not
Yes.
planning on building some other type of deck or something there
No,
to?
no. And, you know, you can hear the water feature too. It's not.
Well, yeah, no, you
yeah.
can hear it everywhere,
Yeah.
but, yeah, it's really, I'm just thinking, obviously, for all the work they're doing, that they're gonna wanna look at it.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines as well, living in Asia for 10 years, I was a big fan of onsens. And that's what this reminds me of. Even though it's only four feet deep, that it's still a perfect plunge pool. It's still a perfect place to sit and look at the, you know, I don't know if there are things about a swimming pool versus a plunge pond, because, you know, outdoor water features like that, they're not meant, you know, no one swims in an onsen. You sit and soak and take in the environs, and that's, is there anything like that? I know you brought up swimming pools in the beginning, and you said they're not going to swim, and of course they're not going to swim, but is there any kind of, so it's okay that they just sit in a pool, that doesn't matter, right?
guess
'Cause they
they
could,
I think that's really a question, that's, because I was about to ask Cheryl, when is the planning board meeting? It's clarification that I would like to have from both Ron Gaynor and Steve Gaba on the view on that. And it's really the decision of the planning board. I mean, we're just providing recommendations.
Is the fence gonna be, is the fence required
So-
for something?
Well,
like
that's an interesting question,
Because of
too.
the depth of water?
I don't know. Is a fence required?
I'm sorry, what, did you say a fence?
Fence.
Okay, yeah, so I looked up the code because that seems a little ambiguous too on whether or not you have to have a fence. If it's a pool or a pond or a man-made pond, and from everything that I could gather, a fence is not required. It's not a pool, and it's not more than 4 feet deep. So if it were more than 4 feet deep and we were creating a man-made pond, I would say that there would, even though the code doesn't say you have to, I would think you would
Right.
have to have a fence. If you keep the pond less than 4 feet, you don't need to have a, even if it were a swimming pool, you know? So, I don't think there is a fence required. But that would be a determination by the building inspector.
Mhm.
We did have a pre-conference meeting with the planning board and the building inspector before we made our initial application to the planning board. And Ron did have a very extensive memo outlining whether or not it could be approvable. And I believe Steve Gaba had input on that. And again, it's going to be at the discretion of the planning board on whether or not they determine that
Right.
this is something that they would allow on the steep slopes. So I think what they're looking for you is to say, you know, how is this impactful on a steep slope? I mean, we're not on the over 35, but we are in that overlay district. And also, if you remember, this is actually, the orange is 30 and up and not just 35 and up, because now we're in the overlay district and that
Right.
changes the criteria. And we're still not in that area that's over 30.
So Cheryl, when is the next planning board meeting?
Thursday the 18th.
So it's next. So as I said, I had put together, and Max had reviewed it, a preliminary memo that went to Ron Gaynor, because he wanted to know our opinions, and I guess he has not distributed his memo after the site visit.
Now,
But I would like to be able to see that, and then revise whatever we need to do and distribute it to all of us. I'm assuming they're not planning to break ground on this in the fall. Right?
well, I
I mean,
think
we
the
try to be
contractor's pretty
sensitive
busy,
to
but, you know,
timelines,
they,
but-
they have been waiting a while, but the contractor is very busy, but,
Right.
you know. I mean, they're gonna pour concrete, you can pour concrete in pretty cold weather,
Right.
you know, so I don't know if they work through the winter, I don't know what their schedule is.
Hey, Andy, did we ever determine what is below the slope at the bottom? Did we ever?
What's below?
Yeah. you
Yeah,
know,
there is a,
Isn't there a little wetland down there?
yeah, it looks to me, from my gauging, I'm gonna say it's probably about an acre of it's a nice, hardwood wetland with a small, open swampy area as well.
Okay. So you're saying,
It's not, it's a
It's,
wetland. So that's one of the things we obviously want to
It-
protect.
right.
it is several hundred feet away, it's maybe 1,000 feet away, it's pretty far.
Well, are we allowed to, in what you said, Max, about stormwater, are we allowed to ask someone that builds something like this to present with their stormwater maintenance, a stormwater maintenance plan for something like this that has
Well, I
potential?
think there are elements of that in her modeling design in regards to what the discharges would be and things like that. There's no DEC requirement based on the square footage of disturbance that would require them to do a full SWIP, an actual stormwater plan, but the concerns that we brought up and were listed in Andy's memo after that site visit, I mean, again, like, this is not a habitat feature in any way in my mind. This is just something you should all be evaluating based on the impacts to the regulated slope, due to the potential for erosive conditions on a parcel with this kind of steepness. Any of these other nicety elements that are provided in the filter and all that, that's just, for me, there's no significant biological value, but I mean, really the evaluation is again, what's gonna be impacted below the pond? Is this something that we typically would permit on a site like this? Is it necessary? What are the impacts? How are they mitigating the impacts? That's my opinion in terms of what they're proposing here, and the condition of the site as we saw it during the site visit. But again, like the board's task is to provide a memo. I mean, that could, if you have opposition to it, you could still write in that memo, you oppose the plan. And then they would make the decision.
I mean, do we have any feelings on that? I know if the area had been undisturbed, I would be uncomfortable. Personally, I would be uncomfortable. But the area has been disturbed of tree cover, the canopy.
It has been.
Yeah. There's no doubt upon it, and you're not, theoretically, I think one of the things things that we would put on the memo is not to disturb it any further. I guess that's sort of going east. My direction is correct.
It would be, yeah,
Southeast.
southwest, actually.
I mean, what's everybody else's thought? I do think, though, before we can fully put together a memo, I need to see what Ron has put together, you know?
Okay.
I mean, he may come back with, I mean, it may not be enough information for him in regards to the design of that retention wall there too, like how you're gonna key in holding that there with whatever weight is against that. You know, I don't know, that's a huge factor that I see from an engineering standpoint, like, how are you tying in?
4-foot walls and below, which they're step 4-foot walls, they don't need to be engineered. They don't need a building permit. If I had an 8-foot wall, I would have to do a building permit.
Yeah.
So I do have a detail that shows rebar, and they're going to pin it to the bedrock. So it doesn't need a footing because you're pinning it to the bedrock.
Right.
And it's poured directly onto, you know, you put the forms in, you put the rebar in, you pour the wall. Then you step up and you do another one.
Right. But at the same time, the wall is holding back some water, right?
Wall is holding
And
back
if
some
you are talking about 22,000 gallons, I mean, we're roughly talking about 88 tons of water. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, 22,000 gallons is not a tremendous amount,
It's not.
but
Yeah.
in terms of weight, I mean, the wall would have to be engineered well. So,
Okay. Well, that could be you could recommend that.
what's that?
The wall could be engineered well.
Does this example that you showed a portion of, is this going into a little plunge pool type pond with a wall, a retaining wall? Is this kind of the same?
Well, it's going to be a little different because the waterfall is not going to be as dramatic as the before-after picture that I provided.
Yeah, this one is different. It's completely different because it's being built on this top of this big ledge here, so they're not gonna have the same situation.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
looks like, I'm gonna take a wild guess, I'm not even sure the drop is 6 feet. I think it's
Right.
more like 4
Yeah,
feet,
it's-
looking at the
Yeah,
You know, like-
contours.
very high, no.
These
Right.
are some examples of work that this company has done. You know, this is a small waterfall with a pond at the bottom. These are all, you know, man-made. Hold on, sorry. This is a little higher, but it still has, you know, a pond, and then the water comes down. It's like a work of art. This has a little waterfall here, and it runs into this pond.
Mhm.
If this is gonna be a pond outside, aren't all the frogs and turtles and all that stuff, aren't they gonna take residence there?
They may.
So will it impact them when you do the draining and treatment of the water and stuff like that?
So there's no chlorine, there's no treatment of the water. The water circulates and goes through the
Yeah,
sediment area at the top, which cleans it anaerobically.
Mhm.
I mean, essentially what they're trying to create, Tony, is a bioreservoir.
Mhm.
And if it works, then it would be fine habitat, you know, for things like frogs, toads, what have you. If it doesn't, then it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, my experience is that if you don't have a lot of plants in the water sucking up some of the nutrients, then it just turns green and it's just a mess, so.
Well, I mean, I spoke with the gentleman who designs these ponds. I mean, this is basically, I mean, they're a pretty big company. They do stuff all throughout the country. He's like, it is constantly moving, and because of what they introduce, let me just remember the words first.
It says microbial additives.
Yes, microbial
I put them in my pond too.
and and it in itself feeds itself. It runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It never stops.
So they are planning on running it through the winter then?
Excuse me?
They're planning on running it through the winter? So they're not
Yes.
gonna shut it down?
Yeah, you don't shut it down. Yes, microbial additives. And there's 2 skimmers in the larger pond that pull out, you know, the leaves and things. And there's 3 pumps, 2 are in each of the skimmers and 1 is at the bottom of the pond, and they recirculate the water back up again to the bottom of the sediment area, and the water pushes up through the crates and the stones and then overflows to the waterfall.
Right.
And I have indicated that the weir, you know, that there will be a weir that is, you know, at least 8 inches. Here, so the water, so even if there's an 8-inch rainstorm event, you will not get a deluge of water because it will fill up the pond and it will trickle out of this one particular spot at 0.11 cubic feet per second, and then it goes into this little riprap, and then it goes down to this little riprap. It, you know, this is level, it's a velocity dissipator. We also put some rocks behind it so that it slows everything down. It's not a scouring velocity. It's
Now, when you said an 8-inch weir, you're talking about height.
height.
Yeah, I guess what's on the plan is much,
Oh, no, it's much
Okay.
longer than that. I can
Yeah,
tell you
okay. I just
exactly
wanted to
how
make
wide
sure.
it is if you want.
no, that's okay. Other questions or
I'd
comments?
like to see what Ron says, because
Yeah,
we're building something that in no way enhances the environment. You know, it's just, it's a sterile pond that you look at, and it's on a steep slope. So I'm thinking ahead for setting a precedence for other places, because we have a lot of steep slopes.
right.
I mean, I think it's gonna look real cool when it's done, but are we setting a precedence for somebody else to do something on a, you know, a larger scale? Are we gonna,
But
I mean, it's more a question for lawyers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, my feeling is, as I said before, if it required cutting the canopy, I wouldn't be comfortable with it. But that's been done when the house was constructed or when the lot was sold, so it's there. So if somebody, even if, let's say they wanted to build a swimming pool, you know, let's just take that as, you know, being the devil's advocate. Okay, what would we say to the planning board? We might say that building a swimming pool where we're using the slope of the land and terracing makes a lot more sense than blasting and drilling and what have you. But how do we protect what's below and any other sensitive areas? So, you know, I think we need to hear from Ron, and then I think we can finish giving our comments on this. I mean, I think the project is probably doable, and I think it's doable in a way that the area below it can be protected. But I'm not an engineer, and I think the town's engineer needs to go through this.
What is, I wasn't at the site visit, what is directly below it?
It's a slope that goes down, I'm gonna say it probably drops about 250 feet, roughly at about, you know, varies, I'm gonna say, between 25 and 35, 40%. And there is a small wetland at the bottom that appears healthy. You know, the terrain is, you know, very common of, what does Hudsonia call it? Talus and ridge, you know, with mainly chestnut oak forest. So, I mean, that we shouldn't be encroaching upon, which I think if this is done properly, we probably wouldn't. That's why I'm sort of curious of the construction.
Right.
You know, how do we keep a machine, you know, away from going into the forest canopy? Which,
Well-
you know, what you're saying is going from where the carport is or where that driveway ends, you could probably do all of
So this, is a water feature, and they're doing it for aesthetic reasons, but creatures will come to it. I mean, the birds will come to it, the
Yep.
bugs are gonna come to it, the frogs, salamanders are all gonna come to it. So maybe, one of the other things, if it is deemed that, they can have something on steep slopes by the town, maybe some type of mitigation as well, and add additional plantings and things like that, that provide some value for these creatures when, this is now there and they're gonna be using it, but might as well require some native plantings or some good plantings around it, habitat that they can, you're creating habitat essentially.
Right.
It may be not natural, but if they're running it 24/7 for every day of the year, it's gonna be there.
I was a frog, I'd move right in.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I think that's-
So we did provide a planting plan,
But that's, I think the planting
but
plan, as I
it's, we only
interpret it,
showed
is
it.
the rain, well, I'll call it the
within
rain garden, whatever you want.
Within the,
Yeah.
yeah, this is,
Yeah, the filter area.
yeah. We planted in here. I'm sure they will plant in here, but for me to create a site plan that specifically picks out this bush and that bush, like if it were a commercial, that would hold you to, you have to keep those bushes at that site. So in a site plan for a residential lot, you can say, I would say generally that it needs to be planted, but to have a specific species and count would be very hard on someone to make sure that they had to maintain it exactly how you have it on a site plan.
Well, we've actually, when it comes to giving wetlands permits, there are times where we've actually required specific planting plans and,
But this
maintenance
isn't a
as well as
wetlands.
discussing what is allowed for loss or not, and it's reasonable. It's not like, you gotta plant 100 of this, and if all...
99.
Yeah,
But it,
and if only
and
like
it isn't a
80 of them
wetlands-
survive,
it's
I
not
mean,
a wetlands
it's
permit,
fair.
right?
It's fair.
It's a
So I think where we are
space.
right now, I think we need to hear from Ron.
I'm
I'm
not
not,
exactly sure what you are looking to hear from him.
I want his opinion on the revised plans,
Okay.
so that
All
we
right.
can give a proper memo to the planning
Okay.
board, which I'm not convinced we're necessarily gonna have for the next planning board meeting at this point.
You won't, because Ron isn't gonna give his memo until a couple of days before the planning board meeting, typically. And the next planning board meeting is on the 18th, and you don't meet
Right.
again until next month. So I would say we would have to come back here.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately what's gonna be the case. That's what I was asking you, the timeline.
And on the plans, what details did you want on that driveway added here?
Oh,
I just
you just
want-
want me to show it?
show it.
I think we had it, and then I just
Yeah.
turned it off
I
on the
just- it
layer.
should be
was a
in
layer
there.
issue.
For documentation.
Yeah, no, it should be, yeah.
All right.
All right. I appreciate you coming in.
So, how much of a planting plan do you want me to come up with?
I think we need to think about it, and I'm curious, I mean, I think it's a very good idea, and I would imagine it's gonna be easier to do more up pond rather than down pond, because we really wanna, on the whole, bring in as little soil as possible,
Right.
because whatever soil you're bringing in, no matter how quote-unquote good it is, there are seeds that shouldn't be there. So,
That's why
I don't think it's a big deal, what we're gonna probably suggest.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just
and if
some
you look
border
at,
planting.
if you go to their website and you look at the pictures, they plant, they're gonna plant things. It's not
Right.
like they're not gonna.
Which leads me to ask, what is is the pond lined
Yes,
with
it's lined.
rubber, or are they using?
It's a rubber. So,
It's usually like EPDM liner, which is like the roof liner on industrial buildings.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a 45 mil.
Yeah.
It's a little thicker,
Don't buy the vinyl ones from the catalog.
But I don't know, I
little
mean,
ponds.
they do these all over the place, and I was like, can you give me some details? They're like, no, we don't use detail, they like, just give me a sketch, that's all they gave me was this little tiny
Right.
sketch. But,
What was the company's name, the construction company?
yeah, I think it's in your letter,
Oh, it's in the letter? Okay.
yeah. Or it's, at least it's on this sheet, I think. Here. They're on Long Island. Oh, I can't even read that.
Oh.
Anybody else have any other questions
It's
or
Emil
comments?
Kreesenson. Emilkreys.
Right. We'll figure this out for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Have a good evening.
So a quick update on Walter Hoving. I guess about, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, Max and I, Beth Greco, the executive director, and another engineer from Interflu had walked the stream. And they were planning to do drillings on Avery Road, which the highway department did give them a permit for. And we're just waiting back to see revised plans, as well as it is definitely going to be regulated under CEQA, and it's going to be interesting whether it's a listed action or not. And if it is a listed action, who is going to be the lead agency, which I would assume would be the DEC. But it could be us too. You know, on the whole, it's a good project, I think, but we need to worry about both, as we spoke about before, the size of the culvert or bridge that's on Avery Road, and then what's between Avery Road and 9D, and how to make sure that
The
area
downhill
does not.
owners.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, Max and I had discussed with Beth, you know, what about using some of the lawn of Walter Hoving as a floodplain? And she did not seem adverse to that at all. One of the constraints is New York State does not want them to tear up the existing walls because they look at it as an archaeologic site, but they're all right with them burying it. That's a little strange, but
Isn't there septic or something? Somebody was saying something about septic?
there is a discharge for a small industrial system that goes, it's just,
The treatment
just to the
plant for
east
Walter
of,
Hogan?
just east of Avery Road itself.
Mhm.
So, and we're just waiting to hear back.
So their engineers will figure out what to do on the other side of Avon for those residents. They're gonna,
It's gonna be more, right now, there's not, I don't believe there's funds to do anything. As well, it's a very constricted space, so it's a matter of how can you make sure that the flooding is no worse and hopefully slightly better? How do you dissipate the water?
right.
Because it is a constricted channel and you have 3 homes and a business, you know, and 2 of the homes are right on top of
Yeah, it's a, you know, they all
Yeah.
came in here to speak about it, so
it.
it's,
So,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of flooding, a lot of the people that had come in were actually on Avery Road itself to the north. I'm not sure this is going to affect them, if it's designed properly. But one of the things Max and I had also discussed, I guess Interflu is used to basically getting plans to about 90% engineering and then letting the local contractor adapt the plans as necessary. That's not the policy of what this board has done in the past. It's if a plan needs to be adapted, they need to come back to us. If it's minor, they go to Max. If it's more significant, they come back to us. And that's about where we are. I don't know if you have anything to add, Max?
No, I drove by the site today, and they have not bored into Avery Road yet to do test borings for the bridge, if it was to be upsized or not. They're marked, but it hasn't been drilled yet. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think we left off that we're going to be we've been tied into their close correspondence to the DEC so that we can figure out where exactly things stand in the permitting process and the secret process. It's a financially, it's a huge project if it is undertaken. And could be significant impacts to landowners if it's not modeled correctly with the correct feedback from the community. So I think that's all been conveyed to them at this point. So I think they were maybe planning on coming in next month in October.
I believe so.
They should have the modeled calculations down to the stream crossing at 9D at that point. So, yeah.
And and construction-wise, it's a significant project as well.
Yep.
So, and I think what we've learned, I don't think this is a project that's going to happen in 2026.
Probably not.
I think it's more 2027. So, Madeline has been keeping up with Century Aggregates. You want to talk briefly about that, please?
Did you all read the little memo from, it's going to go through the Century Aggregate, the concrete plant in Old Snow Valley is pretty much, the public hearing is closed. The board is going to, Century Aggregates gave written responses to the board had presented about 16 pages of comments on their whole site plan, and Aggregates came back and spoke about all the points. If you want to see the memo, let me know. About all the points that they addressed. They're going to make a negative declaration on the project, so that's a big shameful disappointment, if I can add that editorial comment. But in lieu of that, they have created a greenway, a preservation area on the site that says you can't go less than 100 feet around Clove Creek. Any trees that are disturbed or vegetation during the building or at any time, the lifetime of the project, if there's blight on a tree, Century Aggregates has to replace it. If there's a fire, Century Aggregates has to replace all the trees. This is to help, of course, if there is a water runoff that might go into Clove Creek, but also to keep the vegetation in the area looking as green as possible. The Fishkill said that they were giving it negative deck because they're only disturbing, such a small portion of the 300 acres that they own. So that's why they said they felt that it wasn't justified.
But it's quite a disturbance in that little small section.
It's quite a disturbance, and they never addressed the bridge. And they have a bridge that it's gone, no one's commenting, nobody's talking about that bridge with all the cement going in and out. But I don't know that there's anything that can be done with that any more than, it'll just happen. But that's still a major concern, the little bridge in the project. Obviously, we haven't seen it because we can't go and walk it or anything. But I know that is a concern of people that are monitoring it and spoke out against it. But no mention of the bridge, and that's it. So the next meeting is Thursday, and they'll probably vote on the resolution for it, and that's that. So all anyone could do is make sure that, I'll make sure that the Greenway writing is in it. I'll see what they've posted. The agenda's not up yet, or when I wrote this, the agenda wasn't up. And then the next big Clove Creek project in Fishkill is that Little 9 golf course where they want to put the industrial complex. And that's a major concern because, again, drinking water. But it's just an industrial complex on a 100-year floodplain. And they're starting to look at that seriously now that this one's done. I don't know if that's something you all want me to monitor as well and keep an eye on. Not that we can do anything more than writing a letter, even though it's drinking water, but
technically we are on that. The council that you Surge is ahead of.
Yeah, the Fishkill Watershed Alliance.
Yeah, Philipstown has an official position because of Clove Creek on that. So
yeah, it's definitely worth looking at.
Okay, I'll continue to
That would be
monitor that
wonderful.
as well, and give you little updates.
Does the town board have a position on this at all?
When I had, this goes back quite a few months ago, probably around New Year's, I had spoken to John Van Tassel, because we did, as you remember, issued a memo, a letter to the
Right.
planning board, and, he said on the whole, what happens in Philipstown stays in Philipstown and vice versa with Fishkill, but there have been exceptions, and he thought that this is an exception. Be upbeat, but put a communication in. Probably about a decade ago or so, there was a proposal for a very large mobile home park in Fishkill that would have, environment wasn't an issue, but it would have flooded the Halebian school district with hundreds of children. And that was the first time that Philipstown had made the issue known that this was not really acceptable, that the burden was going to fall on the town. So there is room.
It was funny, talking to a group of citizens, I talked to a lot of people about this, and, one of the big major concerns is the fact that the amount of trucks and cement trucks coming up and down 9 is just, there's no way to gauge that. It's probably going to be at least double of what it is now. Obviously, we're going from 0 cement trucks to how many this plant is going to have from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. during the day. And nobody comments on that as an environmental concern. The town boards don't. Nobody does, and it's a major concern of the citizens, is that now you're just smogging out Route 9. Adding more traffic lights is just idling trucks, smogging out the whole corridor of what it does to Philipstown.
We already
But-
have 3 cement plants on Route 9.
Well, now we have 4 has the right within their plan to change their hours of operation. So right now they're saying, oh, we're open from 7 to 3, but in their plan, and it's not taken out, we can open at 5 if we want to, we can open at 6, they're allowed to do whatever they want. Essentially, the keys are, it's like it's its own little embassy, but it is such an environmental concern. All this development on 9 is such an environmental concern that no board is taking up.
Thank you for keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. And I believe the other project is actually a warehouse, is it not?
Yes, it's a warehouse.
So you want to talk about trucks?
Yeah, it's on the old golf course, which is flooded, and again, that whole idea of a not necessary, really, just for warehousing, right? It's not some great.
You have truck traffic and leakage and all that, it's really not good.
And sewage, and
Yep.
that's the sewage there is a real major concern to people being drinking water, and again, trucks coming in and out, like you said, and this concrete only took a couple months to go through, right? We were only talking about it in February.
Is Fishkill taking a stand on this, or don't they care? This is their water.
Well, it hasn't. They've been more concentrating on this than the other one, but they're going to really concentrate on
They're
that
gonna
industrial.
get double duty when both of them come in, and then their water is gone.
Yeah, and I'll be honest in saying I haven't really listened to much of the industrial complex one, but I'll start listening to it as well. This was depressing though.
All right. Max, do you have anything?
Just brief stormwater updates are that we're continuing on with getting our contract in place with the DEC so we can start transmitting funds to Walden Environmental Consulting for the updated MS4 mapping. Our 18-month report will be due to the DEC on October 1st, so I'll be submitting that. And then I'm also looking to get on the town board agenda just to do a brief request for approval to update some programmatic language in our stormwater management plan for the town after getting Ron's input on a couple of things. So we'll be making an update to that plan hopefully this month or next month. But yeah, it wouldn't be any long presentation or anything like that. It would just be essentially looking at language and getting the rubber stamp that we're adopting it. So that's it from a stormwater perspective.
On a related, but not exactly the same issue, did the town ever relicense the ArcGIS?
Yeah, yep, we have that. So that's something I'm hoping to work on this winter, but it's all still made in draft form, so we could publish it as it stands now, with all the layer information that we had in the past.
Could you send me a link to that?
Yeah.
Again?
Yep, yeah.
That'd be great.
And we've already used that field maps application for that Cliffside Court project. I was
Right.
able to make a couple of annotated maps for some violations that we were dealing with, so,
That's great.
yeah.
Anybody else have anything? With that said, do I have a motion to adjourn the September meeting?
Make that motion.
Second? All in favor? Thank you.